Welcome to fourth term and to SOC 400B. So I know you guys are all excited about being in fourth term, and let's just get this term over with. Well, we'll get started with the ethics. I just want a few little things that I want to remind you of is the student outline and the syllabus are both uploaded under the Week 1 reference tab. Please pay close attention to the student outline for the specific due dates and times, because there has been a little bit of a change. All homework will be due on Sunday evenings by 11:59 p.m. I've also included a weekly breakdown of the assignments and the YouTube links and the due dates under the reference tab for each week. In ethics, there are only 3 quizzes, your midterm and your final. All quizzes, midterms, and finals, you can utilize your study guides for those. So please make sure you complete your study guides. Also, all the homework assignments have been uploaded to my IoT and are found underneath homework. So if you want to print those assignments out and be able to do them on paper, to look through the book to find the answers and write the page numbers down for, they're there for you to print them off. However, all homework answers must be submitted in my IoT. So remember, just like last term, always make sure that the questions match. So make sure question 1 is not question 5 on the printed homework paper. So always just double check to make sure those questions match so you answer each question correctly. For the homework, I will close the homework out on Mondays mornings and open it for review until Tuesday morning. And then on Tuesday morning, I will open the next week's homework. Remember, your attendance is based off your completing your homework. So please make sure you get your homework completed. And like I said, all homework is due on Sundays by 11:59 p.m. I also included a short quiz on my IoT to account for attendance for this first week. So just make sure you complete that quiz for attendance purposes. All your quizzes and your exams are given on Socrative, and the room name for the ethics is Olson 1034. That's OLSON 1034. Remember on Socrative to sign in with your last name first. And we're all going to just take a deep breath and we're going to enjoy this term, and it will be over before you know it. So the first chapter that I'm going to cover in ethics is chapter 23, which is over professional identity and image. Now I do want to let you know I have included PowerPoints for all of the chapters on my IoT. However, most of the time I do not use the PowerPoints in this class. Those are for your reference. I normally lecture straight from the book in this class, but the PowerPoints are there for you to utilize if you like to go by the PowerPoints. So chapter 23, professional identity and image. So when they talk to people out in the public, and ask them little survey questions of if they were asked how they would describe a nurse, most of the public would say nurses are nice, hardworking, caring, ethical, and honest. They're nice, hardworking, caring, ethical, and honest. But rarely would you hear them describe a nurse as highly educated, bright, powerful, independent thinking, and prestigious. So, that's the thing is, they think of nurses as just hardworking, caring, honest individuals. But the public does trust and admire nurses, but this does not necessarily equate to the respect or prestige. The reality is much of the public does not understand what nurses really do. And also, many people would describe a nurse as a caring young woman dressed in a white uniform dress, cap, and shoes, altruistically devoted to caring for the ill, angel of mercy, under the supervision of a physician. That is located on page 335 on the left column, almost at the bottom of the page. Remember, many people would describe a nurse as a caring young woman dressed in a white uniform dress, cap, and shoes, altruistically devoted to caring for the ill, the angel of mercy, under the supervision of a physician. So nurses are stereotyped. There are many types of stereotypes. The first one is angel of mercy, which is one of the oldest and most common. These People think that the angel of mercy or it's a saintly vocation. Also, another stereotype is love interest to physicians. And that is another historical stereotype of nurses, doctor nurse romance novels. So, you might want to remember love interest is related to romance novels. And then we have the sexy bombshell naughty nurse. It could be like Hot Lips Houlihan and MASH. Or, there's many commercials that were aired over the years that, talk about either like the one commercial that Clairol Herbal Essence, they launched a commercial that showed a nurse abandoning their patient to wash their hair in his bathroom. Yeah, like we have enough time to do all of that. The another one was the Dentine gum that showed female nurses being lured into bed with male patients the instant the male patients popped Dentine into their mouth. So, these are stereotypes that are out there. Another stereotype is handmaiden to the physician. That we just, we serve as adoring backdrops to the omnipotent physician, demonstrating little, if any, independent thought or action. This image is perhaps the most common image perpetrated on contemporary television and movie screens. But that image is not new. It was reported in classic research back in the 70s that they suggested nurses perform menial work dealing with the physical world. And then we have the battle axe nurse, with Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There are also other nurses, like Nurse Diesel in High Anxiety. She was another stereotypical battle axe nurse with the addition of enormous prosthetic breast. So, you think about it, there's a lot of different stereotypes out there that people think about, what nurses are. And the last nursing stereotypes is the male nurse as gay, effeminate, sexual predatory, and non achievers. Because, some people view male nurses going into nursing that they're non achievers because nursing is rather more than traditionally, it's not traditionally a male occupation. So, that is another, one of the other popular stereotypes for male nurses is that they're non achievers for going into nursing rather than more traditional male occupations. So just remember, just remember all the different stereotypes. The main ones that you want to remember are the angel of mercy, the love interest, sexy bombshell, and of course the battle axe. Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then another thing is they talk about, and this is on page 340, how ingrained are nursing stereotypes? They're not only well ingrained, but also instilled early in life. And by the end of middle school, most students report having their minds made up about their desirable and undesirable careers. And this one here, this slide here just talks about the contemporary stereotypes on TV. ER has Carol Hathaway, Abby Lockhart, and Samantha Taggart. Grey's Anatomy is nurses with trivial roles. On Grey's Anatomy, the physician characters on this show provide all the direct patient care, as well as an emotional support of the patients and their family. Nurse Jackie. Nurse Jackie was a drug addicted nurse who worked in the ER. She often made unethical and illegal decisions for the good of her patients. And then, of course, there's also the private practice. So, which of the following terms would most likely be heard when asking the public to describe nurses? Highly educated, caring, powerful, prestigious. It's caring because the other terms are rarely used to describe, the public uses to describe nurses. And changing, you got to think about this. How are we going to change the nurse's image in the public eye? And who is responsible for changing the nurse's image in the public eye? We ourselves as nurses are responsible for changing that image. We have to, I already, we have to, like I say, we are the ones responsible for changing our image. And there is an organization, the Center for Nursing Advocacy and Truth About Nursing. The Center for Nursing Advocacy was to address the media's disrespectful portrayal of nurses, and it dissolved in 2009, and they created the Truth About Nursing, which is their goal is to increase public understanding of the central frontline nurses play in modern healthcare, promote more accurate, balanced, and frequent media portrayals, and increase media's use of nurses as expert sources. On page 345 of your book, in the box there at the bottom left corner, there is tips for interacting with the media. So remember, you have to be well informed about the topic. You want to keep your answers short, clear, and concise. And always, always remember, nothing is off the record. And also on page 345, they talk about reclaiming the title of nurse. Another strategy needed to improve the image of nursing is to ensure that the use of the term nurse is limited to licensed nurses. All state boards of nursing have passed legislation restricting unlicensed personnel from using the title nurse. So, reclaiming that title, it is suggested that when nurses meet their patients, they introduce themselves as a nurse and include their surname as professionals do. And also, they also encourage you to nurse out loud, what that means is describing more of what you're thinking while you're providing care, consistent with patient confidentiality and sensitivity. And then another way that we can improve our image is to, what about changing our the way we dress as professionals? Because nurses used to wear white uniforms in the 60s. Today many patients aren't able to tell whether the members of their healthcare team, they can't tell them apart because of the scrubs. So, sometimes, people, they don't know the difference between a CNA or maybe even environmental services and their nurses because everybody is dressed in scrubs. So some organizations have went to color coding the scrubs so the patients or clients know which discipline wears what. Now, they have a big controversy about that because some patients still forget. They may have a sign in their rooms, that the RNs wear blue, CNAs wear burgundy, lab personnel wear navy blue, respiratory therapists wear like a teal green color. But patients still sometimes get confused as to which color, which discipline wears which color. So, the thing that I want you to think about is it the white uniform that makes the professional, or is it the actions the nurse takes that define what a nurse is? And, you know, um, also, we have to do positive talk by nurses about nursing. That's another strategy for improving the image of nursing is to change how nurses talk about nursing to others. Some nurses badmouth the profession and discourage young adults from considering nursing as a profession, yet go on to bemoan the current nursing shortage. So, bottom line is nurses must be ambassadors for the profession and tell the public that nursing is an essential service with equal worth to other professions, that it can provide many services better than any other healthcare disciplines, and that nursing is often more cost effective than other disciplines. So the public's demand for nursing likely rests on the demand nursing creates for itself in the public's eye. So, in conclusion to this chapter, there is the one thing I want to say is from a sociological perspective, conflicting stereotypes of nursing have not served the nursing profession well, and a disconnect exists between reality and the public image. This is on page 343 underneath conclusions. From a sociological perspective, Conflicting stereotypes of nursing have not served the nursing profession well, and a disconnect exists between reality and the public image. And just remember, the responsibility for changing nursing's image lies squarely on the shoulders of those who claim nursing as their profession. So we are responsible as nurses for changing the nursing's image because it lies squarely on our shoulders if we claim nursing as our profession. So we have to be advocates and make those changes. And that is the conclusion of chapter 23.